This is Robert Garven from Cirith Ungol, and you are listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Brutally Delicious!
Let's start by 30 years. How long have you guys been in this now? Over 30 years. You ever imagine you'd still be doing it?
Well, not really. Matter of fact, what's really funny, I live, we live in Ventura, like right where my house is. I'm like less than a mile away from where the first couple of places we played. We went to junior high school, Anacapa Junior High School, and we talked him into letting us set up like on the side of the parking lot there and play. And that was like in 1970. And then we were in another band for a while called Titanic, and all the core members of Cirith Ungol. The one guy that was in the band, his family kind of played folk music. He went on. His name was Pat. He went on to play in the Angry Samoan, the punk band.
Oh, okay.
Cool. But at the time, his family was all doing folk music, so he loved the Beatles, so we were playing all Beatles songs, and the rest of us were listening to, like Mountain, and the early Deep Purple and stuff like that. So we ended up splitting, and so our first show with the band was February 15th, 1971.
Wow.
So actually we're like, we're like Stone Age creatures almost.
Yeah, I was reading that on your wiki that your first gig was at an anti-Vietnam War rally.
Yeah, so that wasn't the first one, but that was soon after. So anyway, yeah, the band, we took a break for 25 years or so, but if we just stayed together, we were approaching like 48, 49 years, which was, it's almost that's kind of an insane.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know how to explain it, but we did take all that time off. So, and I think that was good for the band. I did another phone interview, a college station in Austin, Texas, and it was us and another band. And at the end of the interview, they asked, they go, hey, do you have any advice for this other band? This new band trying to make it in the music business. And Tim, our singer, goes, well, you need to break up for 25 years.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is great.
And I think that had something to do with it. We never, and when we broke up, I think I swore that I'd never touch another drumstick as long as I lived. And I mean, there was no, I wouldn't say bad blood, but it's like the way it kind of fell apart and stuff. We're all kind of disillusioned with the music business at the time. And so, there was no doubt in my mind that I would never play drums again. Now, that said, I'd wake up every night dreaming about the drums and being in the studio I'm a mechanical guy. I love cars and stuff. So what I love about drums, I love all the cymbal stands and the foot pedals and the cymbals. I love all the mechanized part of it. And so I'd be dreaming all that too. And so, it's nothing that ever, it kind of never left my mind, but it was something that we thought we'd close this chapter on,
Right. And the business has changed so much in the last, 40 years. I mean, it's almost unrecognizable, right?
Yeah, in a way, but, once again, the stuff that we started listening to, the stuff that made me, like whether it's, once again, early Mountain, early Black Sabbath, early Deep Purple. Matter of fact, there's a lot of other bands from that era. A band from New York, Dust, that was a big band that we loved. Sir Lord Baltimore, another band from New York at the time, playing the super hard rock, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. To be honest, I don't think that's changed. Now, the technology around the recording equipment and the amplifiers and the guitars and all that stuff has kind of seemed like it's evolved. But, every once in a while I'll hear a band, and it's like it takes me back to when I first started getting interested in this type of music. And, and I always break it down pretty simple. If there's like, a screaming singer and a slashing guitar and pounding bass and drums, it's heavy metal. I mean, that's
right.
On it.
Oh, yeah. I agree. It's there's different versions of it, and it's morphed over the years, but I agree it's all, in the same vein for sure.
Yeah, and even our stuff, we just put out a single last year, Witch's Game. And, all the guys in the band always argue about, our first couple of albums, they don't like the way they sound and stuff, musically. But what I kind of like about Frost and Fire and King of the Dead, our first two albums, anywhere in any song, you can be listening to it and you can hear the bass, the guitar, the drums, the singing, all without any kind of confusion. And even on that latest single we did, there's so much more technology now, and we're having a couple of rhythm guitars and stuff, and at some point you don't get lost in the music, but I mean it's not as easily recognizable as it is in a really simple 3-piece, power trio type.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the way recording has evolved, I mean, recordings are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and sometimes it takes that intimacy away, especially with modern mastering, how loud they make everything. There's no dynamics left in it anymore. Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to Join the Legion, which sounds great. I think that was a newer release, was it not?
Well, yeah, Join the Legion, that came out in 1991. That's the last album we had before we broke up, and that was produced by a guy, Ron Gowdy, who actually has a recording studio in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Oh, wow.
And, we kind of had a big falling out, like, after that album, because we didn't have a lot of control over the production and stuff. And, the first couple albums we put out, we completely produced them ourselves. Then our third album, One Foot in Hell, was recorded pretty much by us, but then it was all mixed down by Brian from Metal Blade Records and another gentleman, Bill Matoyer, kind of like a famous studio guy. And those were good, but I mean, it's like, I think when you lose a little bit of that control, you feel unhappy. And so for years I was really angry at, the guy that produced it, and that's one of the reasons the band broke up, just was the whole kind of like drama around that album. But Metal Blade decided, they wanted to re-release it, and it turned out that it was owned by Warner Brothers Records, and the joke was, our dream was always to be on Warner Brothers Records, and it turns out one of our albums is owned by them, and they wouldn't let anyone re-release it, and Metal Blade really went to a pretty strong link to get the rights to do that. So they re-released it kind of like a deluxe edition, with a booklet in there and colored vinyl and all that stuff. And we started listening to it again, and, I think, like I said, I think I was wrong. I think, there's some actually really good stuff on there. There's a few songs on there that wasn't even really written by the band. So a lot of people say, well, how come, this isn't as consistent as your other albums? And that's the reason. But the good stuff that's on there, like Join the Legion and the Trilogy 3 songs, it's probably some of the better stuff we ever did.
That's awesome. Chris?
Great. Well, I was just, when you were talking...
We're trying to get guys to join the Legion.
When you were talking about, the band, you said that, how does a new band make it? Well, you got to break up first. But it made me think, like, the music industry, especially right now, and almost every genre except metal, is really focused on youth. And it has been for a long time. But like that, there's always that friction when you start young and you're in a band, and there's all these egos that are fighting each other. And then when you get older, you kind of realize, you don't really need to have that drama anymore, and you can actually just kind of work through stuff. Is that kind of what you found when you got back together?
Well, I think our whole thing was a little bit different, and here's how I see the take on that thing. All the really good, powerful musicians are all young, but all the young guys in the world are listening to old bands, like whether it's Led Zeppelin or Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or us or what have you. So, I mean, it's kind of an irony. The people that are best suited and angriest that are probably writing the best music are probably the young people that aren't getting any coverage because all the young fans are actually listening to a lot of old musicians. Now, I can't say that's 100% for sure, because there's some younger bands out there too. But I mean, here's the real truth, though. And when we said made it, our band, we're not even close to even scratching the surface of even surviving, let alone made it. But in a sense, we made it because a lot of people are talking about us, and we're playing some really big shows and stuff. But I mean, there's still the level between us and, let's say, like an Iron Maiden. I mean, it's like, we basically would be like the janitors at their concert.
Right. Right.
You can sign me up to be a janitor at a Maiden concert any day.
Hell yeah.
Those guys are pretty cool. We, our photographer, Greg, who did the first 2 albums for us, he did a bunch of stuff for Iron Maiden, so we got to hang out with them. I can't really remember when it was. It was probably in like the 90s, maybe the like 91 or 90, somewhere around that time, right before our band broke up. So we got to hang out with them backstage, and it was kind of cool. That was like, they were really doing well, but they hadn't reached the level of success they're at.
Right.
They hadn't their 747 airplane yet.
Right.
Yeah, I saw a meme a little while back where it was like, remember that New Year's gig, the Dick Clark's New Year's, where Mariah Carey had to lip sync because she couldn't hear herself.
Right.
She was having all these issues. And then so I saw this meme with Mariah Carey on the top that said, "I couldn't hear myself, so I couldn't perform." And underneath it was, "I survived cancer. I fly my band to every gig." I'm Bruce Dickinson. Suck it up.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, playing, since we've been back together, we played probably 25 pretty big shows, and, a lot of times being on stage, it's like, if you don't have like a really long sound check or what have you, and that's what a lot of these big festivals are, there's not really a lot of time for sound checks. Matter of fact, you just, they cycle the bands through one after another, and, a lot of the times you're on stage and I can't hear any of the other members. And so that's what the thing was when we first heard our live album that just came out. A lot of the guys in the band were really impressed because it actually sounded, I won't say better than what we expected it to, but it's like we were pleasantly surprised that it sounded as good as it did. So.
Right.
Because you couldn't hear each other on stage. That's funny. What festivals have you guys been playing?
Well, okay, we just got back from one in Helsinki, Finland, and it was called Blow Up That Gramophone, and that was a really cool festival. It wasn't that large, maybe, 1,000, 2,000 people, but it was really cool. It was in an old tram museum. So this concert hall was basically a big concert hall. On either side of the concert hall, they had like antique, kind of like electric, railroad cars, like trams for like, downtown transportation.
Huh.
And then
cool.
Yeah, but right before that, we played in Brazil. And we played at a big show down there in Brazil. And that was called Setembro Negro, Black September. And that was kind of a cool festival. And then before that, we played one in Germany, Bang Your Head, which of course is a big, it's like 15, 20,000 people or so. And
nice.
that was so yeah, no, that's what we're trying to play as many shows a year as we can, but some of the guys in the band, we're older, we have families, and some of the guys had careers and stuff like that too. So, I mean, if you're working full time and you're raising a family, you can't go on tour for 60 days in a row without coming home to no family and no job.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Honey, I'm going to be gone for 150 days. I'll be back.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying, how come you're not touring more? And that's the real reason. I mean, we wish we could, and if it was something that was that lucrative that we could do it, I think that we would do that. But what we're trying to do now is play as many shows as we can, as far separated around the world as we can, so that we can get out to some of the people that were listening to us. And at the show we just played in Brazil, there's people, we showed up at our hotel, they were sitting out there, they'd bought our first album, 40 years ago, so I mean, it was amazing to actually go play places. And even though most of the crowds, under 30, 25 and under, there'll always be, the people that actually, bought our records when they first came out. And it's pretty amazing to actually see people that, that waited that long, wait 30 years or 40 years to see you. So,
yeah, it's amazing. What do you think?
Yeah, the ones that are still alive.
Right.
Does it seem to you like metal is more popular all over the world, but specifically in North America, it's not quite as big? Or is that just kind of like a stereotype that people have?
Well, you know what? I think it's always been that way. I mean, I'm working on an interview right now with a big magazine in Poland, and the guy was asking us, while we broke up and this and that, and I was kind of recounting, our band is kind of like the Tenacious D thing, we survived disco, we started made it through the punk thing, but the hair metal bands and the kind of the speed metal stuff when the bands, Metallica bands started playing the faster heavy metal, we were kind of like locked into this. We were into this kind of like old style, true metal, epic metal, or whatever you call it. And it's like we weren't going to change, and we really, most of the time, we didn't really fit in with what was going on around us. And what's amazing in the world, it seems like, especially in Germany, the German guys are very sophisticated, and every obscure band, you mentioned the guys over there, they know who they are, And yet here in the United States, there's still like a hardcore group of people that like hard rock and heavy metal, but there's just so much other stuff out there for people to listen to, whether it's reggae or punk or grindcore, or, every different genre of metal, so I mean, it's more diluted, I would say.
Right.
I think the country's bigger. We're in a giant country, in Europe, Germany's about the size of Texas, so, it's easier to keep all that stuff, I guess, contained.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you guys writing any new material?
Yeah, let me do this. So in Finland, we were in Finland, and Finland actually has more heavy metal bands than any country on earth, and most of them are like black metal or death metal. And we couldn't really figure out why, but because the people there are so happy, everyone's happy. Supposedly the happiest people in the world. But then it's kind of cold and it's rainy and snowing and stuff, and so we were talking amongst ourselves, saying, well, this is a perfect place. If you're always indoors, it's perfect to be in a band and write music because you can't waste your time going outside doing stuff, So.
Right.
Yeah. No one wants, regardless of how much people love snow, you can't sit out in it like all the time.
Right.
I guess it's probably why there's a lot of metal in Florida too, because you can't go outside in the summer.
But wait a second, wouldn't your theory be shot down? Because why are there no like real Alaskan metal bands?
Well, maybe they are. Maybe they just, once again, it's an isolated area. Maybe you need to go up there and listen.
What about 36 Crazy Fists? They're from Alaska.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, sorry, Rob. I wasn't trying to prove you wrong.
There you go. But it's also Alaska has a smaller population. Once again, so I mean, but I've been there. It's a beautiful state.
I'd like to go there someday.
You asked if we're working on new material. Yeah, we as soon as the band got back together, and this is no bullshit. When we released Witch's Game last year, like we were surprised because a lot of the guys said, "Wow, this is really good," and wow, they can still play their instruments and stuff. And it kind of took us by surprise because as soon as we got the band back together, we're playing our old stuff, but we sat down and we started working on new material because we love, that's what we did. We wrote, with the exception of Arthur Brown's Fire that we did as a cover, we never really did any covers the whole time the band was together. I mean, we did practicing and having fun and stuff, but as far as recording them. And so, as soon as the band got back together, we started working on new material. And I can't really, there's nothing I can say, like right now, but I keep telling everyone stay tuned because, we had the live album just come out a week before last, and, we have a few more tricks up our sleeves before we fade into the background.
Nice. Not done yet, huh?
Well, yeah. We're not done. We're close to done. We're like.
Well, I think when you're making music because you love. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say we're burnt on one side.
Right.
I think though, when you're making music because you love to make music, it's different.
Yeah, it is, but it's still a struggle. Being in a band, it's like being married to 4 or 5 other people. And you have to all kind of be on the same wavelength, and especially now that we're older, it's like, it's like when we show up at the band room, we have to help each other put our walkers away.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Everyone's gone down from 412 cabinets to these little tiny combo amps.
No, not us though. We're still blasting. Matter of fact, we're playing so loud. I'm just wondering if I'm going to follow in the footsteps of AC/DC and have to quit the band because I can't hear anymore. But yeah, no, we haven't given up the dream, and that's what's keeping us together. And we're serious because in the music we're writing and stuff, we have like arguments that stretch on for like months on whether one riff in a song like has one wrong note in it or something. So,
right.
yeah, we're trying to do what we did when the band broke up, when kind of where we left off. We kind of picked up from there. And someone else asked, they said, did you ever think about doing a live album before? And the answer to that question was no, because we were always chasing our next studio album.
Right.
But when the band got back together, Metal Blade approached us and said, "Hey, would you guys want to do a live album?" And we all kind of looked at each other and saying, "Well, hey, this might be the perfect time to do that," because obviously the band, our career's not going to last, decades into the future. So we thought, maybe, hey, let's do something now. And I don't know if you guys have seen that, but Metal Blade, I mean, those guys, they're about the coolest record company in the world.
Yeah.
The box set, it has a little mini microphone in it, and a drumstick, and guitar picks, and a back patch. And I mean, as a matter of fact, I opened it, and one of our fans said, hey, that's kind of gimmicky. But then after I opened it, I started looking at it. I'm thinking, if when I was younger, and if one of the bands that I loved had put out an album like that with all that kind of stuff in there, I would have just freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, and some of it, like the little microphone. The guy we posted on, I think on our Instagram account, there's a guy that's singing into the microphone, and so it's only like an inch long. I told Tim I was going to get a picture of him singing into it, or maybe at our next show he should sing using the baby microphone. But,
it's like this Spinal Tap microphone.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it works. It's a real microphone, so I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. So
it's a real microphone?
Yes, and it's got his signature on it. It's like around an inch. And like I said, if you look on the Instagram page or the Facebook page, there's like a photo of the box set, and that actually limited edition box set. I think that sold out. So that was.
Oh wow.
That's so cool.
That's excellent, Chris.
And it's good too. It's good too that you like your record label. I mean, it's pretty rare that you hear a band say that.
Well, Brian, when we first got together to put out, well, not when we first got together, but when we wanted to put out our first album, there's a long story behind that, but the short version is we'd been making demo tapes and sending them out, and the joke was when you sent out, back then, cassette tapes to a record company, they just open it up, and they take your cassette tape and erase it and start using it for their music. So we thought, hey, let's put out an album. And let's do it, let's do it exactly like it if we're going to put out a record, but use that as our demo. And a lot of people are kind of confused. They didn't really understand that. But then once it kind of got out there, we signed a deal with the company to actually start importing it to Europe and stuff. But when we started doing that, we were friends with Brian Slagle, who owns Metal Blade Records, and he worked at a record store. And we're all like, hey, our dream is to be in a band, so we want to put out this album and make it big. And he goes, my dream is I want to have my own record company. And so our history goes back, to this very primitive age, in our lives. And now Metal Blade Records is really successful, and they have a European division over there. And one of the guys even has one of our album covers tattooed on his leg. So, the guys,
oh wow,
they actually like our band. And what's so weird is the guys are so nice and they're so supportive. It's an honor to be on their record label. That's all I can say.
That's all right. Hey, were you part of the one of those compilations? Because you were probably before he had his label, right?
Oh yeah, no, we were on the very first Metal Massacre one.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Wow.
Bunch of. Matter of fact, for a while, the joke was every band on there was signed to a major label except for us. After that first album it came out. And I think it's been reprinted. One band is either Keel or Black and Blue. They had problems with their record company, so one of the bands was taken off there, and another band, I think it was the band Keel, was taken off, and they put Black and Blue on there because Ronnie James Dio's wife was managing them at the time. But I mean, other than that, their record is still, it's got some pretty amazing early metal on it.
Oh yeah.
I think at the time there was other guys. I know in Northern California there was another gentleman that put out a kind of like a compilation album at the same time. So that was kind of like the big thing back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, another thing on there. I know when Metallica came out, they were playing a lot faster metal. And the joke is, if you listen to that first album, our song "Death of the Sun" is faster than their song, which was kind of weird. But I mean, you know, and we never really did sat down, you know, because there's like speed metal and there's all kind of different genres, but we never sat down and said, hey, let's write, you know, a fast song or a slow song. You know, we started, let's write a song, and if it turned out fast or slow, that's how it was. But we never really said, you know, let's write all fast songs or let's write all slow songs, you know. And but I mean, there's bands out there that do it successfully. We play every once in a while with the band Warning from England, and they're just unbelievably good. But they're really heavy and super slow. And you know, I'm the drummer, and the joke is to me is like, you know, they go, Rob, you could never play like that because to play slow drums really, really good and tight, it's super hard, you know, to actually get that timing, you know.
Yeah. Robert, thank you very much. I appreciate taking the time. Good luck with the new record, and we'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you.
Have a great day, man. I'll send you a link when it's up.